Today's beer is based on an old recipe book from one of the coolest historic beer sites in the Netherlands. Hi, I'm Will, and welcome back to Ales and Insights, where I explore some awesome Bible truths and review some amazing craft beers. So if you like learning about God's Word or talking about craft beer, then go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you never miss anything. So shout out to my friend Brandon for exposing me to this beer, bringing it for me from the Netherlands and telling me a little bit about this brewery. So I want to tell you the story of the Bosch Brewery in Maastricht, Netherlands, also known as the Steam Brewery of Keizer. So it's an historical industrial monument, kind of a one-of-a-kind in the Netherlands. It was an old-fashioned steam-powered brewery where beer was brewed from 1758 until 1970. In 1827, Nicholas Bosch inherited the brewery and the house, and it stayed with him and his descendants until its ultimate sale. Several cutting-edge renovations were made to the brewery in the late 19th century, and it enjoyed its heyday from about 1880 to 1914. Unfortunately, World War I had a devastating impact on this brewery, and it never really returned to profitability until production of beer came to a halt in 1970. Because there were no profits to reinvest, there were no upgrades through most of the 20th century, and the brewery today looks largely as it did over 100 years ago. In fact, it has been protected as a national monument since 1996, and much of the brewing equipment can still be operated. Today, visitors can tour the brewery and the brewery house, and they can try 2 beers in the brewery bar room that are based on recipes from an old Bosch recipe book. And today's beer is one of those beers. The Saison de Maestricht is a Saison ale that weighs in at about 6% ABV. And again, another shout out to Brandon for bringing me this ale. Let's open it up and enjoy it. All right, take a look at that. It's got kind of a cloudy amber copper to it. You can see it's quite a vigorous head. It gets kind of clumpy and off-white and almost looks a little bit like dirty snow. It's got some of that Saison funk to it. Some kind of describe that smell as a horse blanket smell. To me, it's maybe a little like hay or straw that has started to decay just a little bit. I'm also getting some peppery herbal scents to it. And there's a little citrus, kind of like maybe like lemon or even kumquat. All right, let's give it a taste. It's very light and effervescent. It's almost like it dances on your tongue and then disappears. That peppery herbal that was in the aroma comes through in the flavor as well. And it's almost got a slightly unripe stone fruit flavor to it. Stone fruits being like peaches and apricots and things like that. It leaves a bitterness high in the back of the mouth with like a super dry finish. It doesn't have any of the wild ale flavors that you often get from beers that use Brettanomyces yeast. And that's because this is typically not a yeast that's used in Belgian Saisons. It's more common for like American wild ales or farmhouse ales. But it's still a little funky. It's got some of that Saison funk to it. For me, this beer is about a 6 out of 10. It's well crafted and it's very interesting. And it's associated with some great brewery history, as we discussed earlier in the video. But for me, this falls a little flat in fullness and in balance. but it's, again, a well-crafted beer from a very storied brewery. So if you're ever in the Netherlands around Maastricht, go ahead and schedule a tour of this brewery and check it out. Great history and really educational to see how beer was brewed over 100 years ago. So it's been a pleasure to be with you today. Thanks for joining me. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions. And in the meantime, love God, love on each other, and enjoy living. Cheers.